Look, I know this isn't my usual thing. I'm usually on here talking about movies, TV shows, pop culture nonsense. But I felt I needed to make this video, and I don't even care if anybody watches it. I just need to get this off my chest. So I used to be a huge Dallas Mavericks fan. I'd frequently go to games. I'd watch pretty much every single local broadcast, even when we sucked. I mean, for me, Dirk Nowitzki's on the Mount Rushmore of my favorite human beings to ever walk the planet. Not just sports people, human beings. This team was part of my identity, part of who I am. And in less than a year, everything I loved about this franchise got destroyed. Not by losing, not by injuries, not by bad luck, by the people who own it. So what I wanted to do is go over the story of how one of the most beloved teams in basketball became the most hated franchise in sports. This is how a team that represented loyalty and passion and connection became a cold corporate shell that doesn't give a damn about its fans. This is the story about the Dallas Mavericks, and I need to tell you how they went from being everything to being nothing.
You suck, you jackass.
Howdy, and thanks for clicking on this video to see what this jackass has to say. I appreciate you. So here's the thing about the Dallas Mavericks. This isn't just a story about a team that lost some games. This is a story about betrayal, about how the most loyal fan base in all of basketball got stabbed right in the back, about how everything that made a franchise special can be completely destroyed in a single night. When Dirk won that championship in 2011, it brought tears to my eyes. Because honestly, that's what it meant to be a Mavs fan. It wasn't just basketball, it was family. And right now, I can barely bring myself to watch, and I know I'm not alone. There's thousands of fans who once packed that arena every single night who are feeling the exact same way. So what you're about to hear is a little bit crazy. It's gonna sound like I'm being dramatic or emotional or whatever, but I promise you this may be one of the most insane stories in sports history, and it's still happening right now. This is the rise and fall of the Dallas Mavericks, from expansion joke to championship glory to whatever the hell this mess is now. Let's start back at the beginning. The gift that started it all. On May 1st, 1980, a guy named Donald Carter pays $12.5 million to bring an NBA team to Dallas, Texas. And he did it all as a gift for his wife, Linda, who loved basketball. So they eventually called the team the Mavericks, named after the old TV Western show from the 50s. James Garner, the actor who played the main character in that show, even became part owner. So the beginning of this franchise actually has a pretty cool story. The team played its first game on October 11th, 1980, and they beat the San Antonio Spurs 103-92. And Dallas went nuts. But because they're a new team, reality soon hit. They finished that first season 15-67.
Ugh, yuck.
The good years nobody remembers. Here's what most people my age don't really know. The Mavericks were actually good in the 80s, like really damn good. They drafted Mark Aguirre first overall in 1981, grabbed Rolando Blackman in the same draft, and by 1984, they're a playoff team and serious contenders. From 1984 to 1988, they made the playoffs every single year. In 1988, they took Magic Johnson and the Lakers to 7 games in the Western Conference Finals. The team was selling out 99.4% of their arena, which at the time was an NBA record. And for a while there, as the Dallas Cowboys started to suck, the Mavericks actually became the most popular team in town. But then it all fell apart, which leads us to the worst decade in basketball. The 1990s were where the NBA really thrived. You had MJ, Ewing, Olajuwon. But the 90s for the Mavs, they were brutal. Like historically bad. We're talking 8 straight years of losing, 7 seasons with 50+ losses, 4 seasons with 60+ losses. The 1992-93 season, they had 11 wins and 71 losses. One of the 5 worst records in NBA history. They got blown out by an average of 15 points per game. Sacramento one night beat them by 58 points. At this point, the franchise was a complete joke. Nobody wanted to play here. Nobody wanted to watch. The arena was half empty most nights. They were the laughingstock of all professional sports. And then the late 90s rolled around and this internet billionaire showed up that changed everything. The Cuban era, when everything changed. On January 14th, 2000, Mark Cuban buys the Mavericks for $285 million. And this is the thing about Cuban. He wasn't your typical rich owner who sits in a luxury box and shows up twice a season. This dude sat courtside at every game wearing jeans and t-shirt. You know, an everyman. He put his email address on the scoreboard. He called season ticket holders who didn't show up to games and asked them why. He even used to provide fans with a free chalupa if the Mavs won their home game that night. He made going to Mavericks games fun again. He made it affordable. He told people it was cheaper than taking your family to the movies. And that wasn't just talk. Cuban actually kept ticket prices among the lowest in professional and college basketball in his entire 23 years as an owner. Even when he was losing hundreds of millions of dollars. He only turned a profit twice in 20 years, but he didn't care. Keeping prices low was way more important to him. And that strategy worked. The team went from half-empty arenas to selling out every single game. Team revenue doubled, the franchise value tripled in just 3 years. You guys know about Mark Cuban. People thought he was a bit eccentric. He'd get fined by the NBA all the time for yelling at refs. He'd go on these unhinged rants. He was loud and passionate and a little crazy, but as an owner, players absolutely loved him. They wanted to play for Mark Cuban. He cared more than any owner in sports. He'd fight for his guys. He'd spend whatever it took to win. And most importantly, he promised he would never sell the team. Never. He said it over and over again. The Mavericks were his baby. But more than that, the basketball got good. I mean, really good. Dirk in the 2011 championship that changed everything. Cuban paired Dirk Nowitzki with Steve Nash and built a legitimate contender. They eventually traded Steve Nash and the Mavericks made a run towards the finals in 2006, but 2011, man, that was pure magic. Now, I'm sure you understand this about Dallas if you don't live here. This is Cowboys country, always has been, always will be. Even though the Cowboys play in Arlington and not technically Dallas, they're still America's team. They're the biggest sports franchise in the world, not just this Metroplex, the world. But here's what eventually happened. As the Cowboys kept struggling through the 2000s and as Dirk kept getting better, something shifted. The Mavericks became Dallas's team. Not Arlington's, not the suburbs, Dallas. They played right in the heart of the city at American Airlines Center, and people fell head over heels in love. Dirk Nowitzki became the most beloved athlete in Dallas history. Even casual basketball fans, people who didn't watch much NBA, they all loved Dirk. He was loyal, he was humble, he took less money to help the team. He stayed when he could have left for bigger markets. He was Dallas. And in 2011, he put the entire franchise on his back and carried that team to the promised land. The Dallas Mavericks were facing LeBron James and the Miami Heat. LeBron had just held that ridiculous, infamous decision special where he announced,
"In this fall, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach."
Him and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh formed this super team that everybody expected to dominate. And I mean everyone. The Mavs were huge underdogs. Nobody gave them a fighting chance. So let's go back and review this series because it's my video, why the hell not? So in game 1 in Miami, the Heat won 92-84. Dirk played 40 minutes, scored 27 points on a torn tendon in his finger. He wore a splint and kept playing. And then there's game 2, which was pretty insane. Dallas was down 15 points in the fourth quarter. The game looked completely over, but Dirk wouldn't let them loose. He hit a three-pointer with 26.7 seconds left to give Dallas a 93-90 lead. Then Mario Chalmers hit a 3 to tie it. 24 seconds left. Jason Kidd gave the ball to Dirk, and Dirk made a driving layup with his injured left hand with 3.6 seconds left on the clock. Miami had no timeouts. Dwayne Wade's potential game winner hit the back of the rim. Mavericks win 95-93. Dirk had 24 points and 11 rebounds. And then game 3 is back in Dallas. The Heat led most of the game, but the Mavericks fought back from 14 points down. LeBron found Chris Bosh for a jumper with 39 seconds left. Dirk had a chance to tie with a fadeaway at the buzzer, and he missed. Heat win 88-86. Dirk had 34 points, 11 rebounds, shot 60% from 3. Game 4, which is a legendary one and a turning point in the series. Dirk had 102-degree fever. He was sick as hell. Before the game, Dwayne Wade and LeBron actually mocked him. They fake coughed and pretended to be sick during warm-ups.
A bunch of assholes.
It became this iconic moment of disrespect. So Dirk responded by dropping 21 points and 11 rebounds while barely able to stand. With the game tied late, he made a clutch driving layup with 14.4 seconds left. Dallas wins 86-83, and the series is tied 2-2. Game 5 still in Dallas. Dirk went off for 29 points and 6 rebounds. He hit huge shot after huge shot. Late in the game, Jason Terry passed to Dirk, who drew a double team and kicked it back to Terry for a game-tying 3. Then Dirk drove baseline on Chris Bosh for a two-handed dunk that gave Dallas a lead that they never gave up. Mavericks win 112-103. The game 6 is back in Miami. This was for all the marbles. Dirk had a rough first half, shot poorly, couldn't get going, but in the second half, he scored 18 points. He made clutch shot after clutch shot. With 2 minutes and 27 seconds left and Dallas up, he hit a jumper to push the lead 99-98. The Mavericks would eventually win this one, 105-95. And Dirk Nowitzki, the 7-foot German kid who stayed loyal to Dallas for 13 years at this point, was finally an NBA champion. Finals MVP, 26 points and 9.7 rebounds per game for the series. series, he shot 97.8% from the free throw line. And for you plus-minus nerds, he was plus 40 for the entire series. It's considered one of the greatest finals performances of all time, not just because of the stats, but because of the story, the loyalty, the clutch moments, playing through injury and sickness, beating a super team that mocked him. It was also poetic justice to win the championship on Miami's court, just like Miami did 5 years earlier on Dallas's court with Shaq and Wade. And as you might imagine, the city of Dallas went absolutely insane. The city threw a massive parade. Over 100,000 people showed up. Dirk cemented himself as not just a Maverick legend, but as a Dallas legend. The most beloved figure in the entire city. And for the next 8 years, Dirk played in Dallas. He retired in 2019 after 21 seasons with one team, the longest tenure in NBA history for a player on one franchise. Naturally, the entire city mourned. His number got retired. He became a living symbol of what loyalty and dedication looks like. And the beautiful thing about this is Dallas thought they were getting that again with Luka Dončić. Luka, the new hope. In 2018, the Mavs drafted this kid from Slovenia named Luka Dončić, another European superstar. The parallels to Dirk were obvious and beautiful.
These white men are dangerous.
Dallas could pass the torch from one generational talent to another. Keep that loyalty going, build the same connection. And Luka was everything Dallas could have asked for. 5-time All-NBA first team, an MVP candidate every single year. And just like Dirk, he loved Dallas. He wanted to stay. He talked about being a Maverick for life. CeeDee Lamb, the Dallas Cowboys star wide receiver, later said that Luka was arguably the most popular athlete in Dallas. More popular than anyone on the Cowboys, and that's saying something in a Cowboys town. In 2024, he led Dallas to the NBA Finals. They eventually lost to the Boston Celtics in 5 games, but honestly, nobody cared. This was the beginning. Luka was 25 years old. The future was very bright. And then Cuban sold the team. The sale that broke everything. In December of 2023, Mark Cuban sells 72% of the team to Miriam Adelson and her family for $3.5 billion. Patrick Dumont, Adelson's son-in-law and the president of Las Vegas Sands, the biggest casino company in the world, becomes the new owner. Cuban said he did it for his family. He didn't want to burden his kids with running an NBA team. He also said the new NBA economics required casino and real estate money, and that just wasn't his thing. He was an internet online guy. Whatever. But there was a catch. Cuban could only keep 27% ownership and gave up all control over basketball decisions. Everything now went through GM Nico Harrison and the new ownership. It took some time, but Cuban later admitted he screwed up. He said if he could do it all again, he would have put the team up for bid instead of just selling to the Adelsons. He thought he'd negotiated a clause that let him stay involved in every basketball decision, every trade, everything. But the NBA made him remove it, or so he says. But by then, it was too late. Fans were worried, but they figured it'd be okay. Cuban still owned 27%. Surely the new owners understood what they had in Luka. Surely they wouldn't mess this up. And then February 1st, 2025 rolls around. February 1st, 2025, the night everything died. It's the middle of the night. Most people are asleep, and then ESPN drops a bomb. The Dallas Mavericks are trading Luka Dončić to the Los Angeles Lakers. The f***ing Lakers. It's still surprising to say. The Mavericks traded Luka, a 25-year-old, 5-time All-NBA player who just took them to the finals, their franchise player, the guy who said he wanted to be a Maverick forever, the next Dirk. And one of the crazier parts of this trade is they got a perpetually injured Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-round pick in return. Naturally, the sports world lost its mind. This wasn't like other shocking trades. This was different. Luka didn't demand a trade. He didn't want out. Hell, the man was crying during his tribute video when he came back to Dallas as a Laker. And the team's excuse? It's vague as hell, but essentially it's defense and conditioning. They said Luka's weight had gotten out of control, supposedly ballooning to the high 260s, over 30 pounds above his listed weight. They said they were frustrated with his lack of discipline or some shit. And then Patrick Dumont made it worse. He went on this rant about how the greats like Jordan, Bird, and Kobe worked hard every day with singular focus. He threw Shaq in there too, which I find hilarious because Shaq was famous for showing up to training camp out of shape and overweight every year. Shaq would say he had the basketball season to get in shape. So Mark Cuban was asked what he would have done if he was still in charge. His answer, if I was still in charge, Luka's still a Maverick. That quote says everything, I guess. The fans strike back. The city of Dallas didn't take this quietly. CeeDee Lamb said that this trade killed the city, and that's not hyperbole. I think that's actually real. About 1,000 fans protested outside American Airlines Center before Anthony Davis's first home game. They wore Luka jerseys with the Mavericks logo covered in tape. They held signs that said "Fire Nico" and "Sell the team." "Fire Nico" chants spread across Dallas like wildfire, not just at Mavericks games, at FC Dallas soccer games, at SMU basketball games, at Cowboys games. This entire city was united in anger. If that wasn't enough, it got crazier. Fans who held up "Fire Nico" signs inside the arena got kicked out by security. One fan even mouthed "Fire Nico" during a karaoke thing on the Jumbotron and got ejected. When two fans shouted it near Mark Cuban's seat, Cuban yelled back, "Shut the f*** up and sit the f*** down," before they got thrown out too.
Kind of a bitch move there, man.
The team eventually said that those fans were violating the NBA code of conduct, but there was no profanity in those signs. People were just expressing how they felt and they got kicked out for it. Fans eventually organized a GoFundMe to put up billboards demanding Nico's firing. They raised over $31,000. The Mavericks lost 700,000 Instagram followers almost overnight, and Luka eventually unfollowed the team's official account. There was a poll that showed that 93% of Mavericks fans were less engaged with the team than before the trade. And there was another study that found that Dallas had the most negative fan base in the entire NBA. 32% of all social media posts about the team were negative. And to add insult to injury, in March 2025, right after all this happened, the Mavericks announced they were raising ticket prices.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
Ticket price slap in the face. So as I mentioned previously, Cuban kept prices low for 23 years. He lost hundreds of millions of dollars because he cared more about the fans than profits. Yeah, that's over. The new ownership announced an average ticket price increase of 8.61% for the 2025-26 season. Some areas, premium seating, club access, courtside went up more than 10%. It was the second price increase in 2 years. Last season, some fans saw increases of 20 to 50%. And this announcement came just weeks after they traded away one of the most beloved players in franchise history. The timing really couldn't have been worse. The team tried to spin it as reflecting ongoing investments in the team and fan engagement, but the fans weren't buying it. You just traded Luka, your record sucks, and now you want to pay more to watch Anthony Davis sit out injured? Average ticket prices hit $268 per ticket. Some VIP courtside seats cost over $200,000. The Mavericks went from having some of the most affordable tickets in basketball to being astronomically expensive. It just kept adding up. It felt like betrayal on top of betrayal. Cuban had built this culture of fan-first, affordable basketball, and then the new ownership just ripped that all away too. And then the weirdest thing happened. Some might even say the most obvious signs of collusion happened, but I digress. The lottery miracle. After trading Luka, the Mavericks finished the season 39-43. They missed the playoffs, and in the draft lottery with just a 1.8% chance, they won the #1 overall pick. Okay. They used it on Cooper Flagg, a generational talent from Duke, one of the best American prospects in decades. The kind of player you obviously want to build a franchise around. It should have been a moment of hope, but instead it felt wrong. Like putting a band-aid on a shotgun wound. I recently came across this writer named Molly Morrison. She wrote this incredible piece on Substack called "Dallas is Still Broken." And man, I think she nails it. I'll link to it in my description, but let's go through it a little bit because I think it's worthy of discussion. She wrote about how there's a ghost that lives inside the American Airlines Center now. How the silence after every dead ball is cutting. How the cheers feel empty, like broken prayers reaching for something that's just not there anymore. She talks about how Luka wasn't just a basketball player. He became part of the city's heartbeat, just like Dirk was. And when one person decided to cut that cord while everybody was asleep, the destruction could not be contained. And here's the part that I think hit me the hardest. She wrote, and I quote, "How do you grieve a ghost who is still alive somewhere else, dazzling for a different crowd?" And I think for so many of us, that's what makes this so painful. Luka's not retired. He's not injured. He's playing for the Lakers right now, putting up insane numbers. He's averaging over 30 points a game, and the Lakers have a great record. They're going to be awesome this year. So as fans here in Dallas, we have to watch him fall in love with a new city, while at the same time of recording this, they have a crappy record, second worst record in the entire Western Conference. It gets worse. So Anthony Davis, who at one time was a top 5 player, this is the guy that they traded Luka for, right? Well, he's missed most of the games this season, and through his entire time in Dallas, he's only played in 30% of the games. Now, there's some rumblings and reports that Nico Harrison pushed Davis to come back early from injuries, which probably made things worse and doesn't even remotely surprise me. Kyrie Irving tore his ACL last year right after the trade, and he's still not back yet. And Cooper Flagg's trying his best, but he's 18 years old being asked to save a franchise that's still grieving. He's averaging a decent amount for a rookie too, 15 points, around 6 rebounds, 3 assists per game, but he's not even the best rookie in his own draft class right now. That belongs to VJ Edgecombe in Philadelphia, who's lighting it up, and the Sixers are at the top in the East. Edgecombe's the early favorite and is probably going to win Rookie of the Year when all is said and done. And you know what? This is not Flagg's fault. He's a teenager being thrown into an impossible situation. But Molly Morrison said it perfectly. How sweet can salvation taste when it's laced with betrayal? I look at it like a Reese's peanut butter cup laced with sports fentanyl. The Mavs want the fans to nurture this new star before they've even had time to mourn the one that was stolen from them. It's really not fair to Flagg, and it's not fair to the fans. Nico eventually gets fired, but does it matter? So on November 10th of 2025, Patrick Dumont finally did what everyone's been screaming since February. He fired Nico Harrison. The fans have been asking for this, chanting this. If you went on X, you saw this for months. It was at every home game. The sound was so loud you could hear it on TV broadcasts. And after the team started 3-8, Dumont finally pulled the trigger. And in normal circumstances, you think this would make people happy, right? The villain gets fired, justice is served, we can all move on. Not even close. Because I think this is what everyone knows. Nico didn't make that trade by himself. Patrick Dumont signed off on it. Dumont approved it. And the reason Dumont took so long to fire Nico was because firing him would be admitting that Dumont himself made a catastrophic mistake. After the firing, Nico Harrison reportedly said he underestimated the deep love Mavericks fans had for Luka Dončić. The general manager of the Dallas Mavericks didn't understand how much the fans loved the most popular athlete in the city, the guy who led them to the finals, the next Maverick savior. I can't with these people. Dirk finally speaks out. So a few days after the firing, Dirk Nowitzki, who had been mostly quiet since the trade, finally opened up on the Amazon Prime pregame show. And he refreshingly didn't hold back.
This move should have probably happened this summer, honestly. I didn't want this negative energy and this black cloud over the Cooper Flagg era, but here we are now. I just knew, I figured this fan base is a passionate and loyal fan base. I was lucky enough to experience it for 21 years, and I knew they weren't just get over it, as people say, or forget about it. They're extremely passionate, and this trade just made no sense. It made no sense to them, and really there was no explanation for it either. You know, you go to the finals the year before. You gave up all these assets to build really the team around Luka. They started the following season well. Going into Christmas Day game, they were 14-3 out of the last 17 games, so they're just starting to hit their stride. And then Luka gets hurt, and unfortunately, that's the last game he's ever played in the Mavs uniform. So it was very sad. It was very sad how that ended, and it feels like the fans feel like they got robbed of actually seeing the end, seeing this through, seeing Luka develop, into hopefully a champion one day, and it feels like they never got to see the end to this. So this was very heartbreaking, and but now it's I think it's time to move on.
He's laying out exactly why this trade was so stupid. The team was working, they were hitting their stride, and then ownership panicked and blew it all up. And when Dirk says it feels like they got robbed of seeing the end to this, that's the pain right there. We didn't get closure. We didn't get to see if Luka could bring another championship to Dallas. We got a middle of the night trade that nobody saw coming and nobody asked for. These are some of the wisest words I've heard about the situation. Dirk didn't sugarcoat it. He didn't try to be diplomatic. He flat out said the fans have a right to be pissed. The trade made no sense and Nico should have been gone 9 months ago. But this is where I kind of disagree with Dirk. He eventually says it's time to move on. Time to focus on Cooper and building the franchise back up. And I respect that. That's the mature, forward-thinking take. That's Dirk being the leader he's always been. And this is where I struggle with that. How can you move on when the people who approved this disaster are still in charge? Patrick Dumont is still the owner. The Adelson family still calls the shots. Firing Nico was just them throwing out a scapegoat to try and calm the fans down. Luka was eventually asked about it after the firing, and this is what he said.
With Dallas, the fans, players, they always have a special place in my heart. You know, I thought I was gonna stay there forever, but I didn't. So they'll always be a special place for me. Always I can call it home. But right now I'm focused on the Lakers, you know, trying to move on.
Is there a world in which you could ever see yourself playing for that franchise ever again, perhaps one day down the road?
Right now I'm just focused on the Lakers, man. Like, there's no further comments.
As a Mavs fan, I'd like to use my imagination, but I really think that the silence says everything. The arena war with the Dallas Stars. And just to add to this dumpster fire, the Mavericks are now in a legal war with the Dallas Stars over American Airlines Center. The Mavs sued the Stars in late October, claiming they breached their contract by moving their headquarters to Frisco back in 2003. What they're trying to do is take full control of the arena. Since October 2024, the Mavericks have been holding the Stars' share of arena revenue in escrow, and that's adding up to tens of millions of dollars. So the Stars rightfully fired back with their own lawsuit, saying the Mavericks are trying to drive them out of Dallas in a hostile takeover. The Mavericks eventually want to build a new arena by 2031, but the problem is they need 35 to 40 acres in Dallas, and they haven't found it yet. Meanwhile, the Adelsons, who own the biggest casino company in the world, are based in Las Vegas, and we keep getting hit with rumors that they want to move the team to Vegas. The Las Vegas Mavericks just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Of course, they're playing politics. They've denied it multiple times, but who in their right mind actually believes these assholes? Why would you trust the ownership group after everything they've done? They are fans last. The spirit of this franchise is dead. It no longer exists. What I think made the Mavericks so special wasn't just winning. It was the relationship between the team and the city. It was Mark Cuban sitting courtside and caring more than anyone. It was Dirk playing his entire career in one uniform. It was Luka choosing to stay when he could have demanded a trade anywhere. It was about loyalty, about family, about a connection that felt real. And the new ownership took all of that, everything that made the Mavericks, and they threw it all away for defense and versatility. They didn't just trade a player, they broke a promise. They destroyed trust that took over 25 years to build. They killed something that I don't think can come back. And firing Nico Harrison 9 months later, we all know that's just PR. That's the owners trying to save face. It doesn't fix anything because the people who approved the trade are still in charge. And there's fans that are split into camps now. Some have completely checked out. Some are hate watching and hoping for change. Some are trying to support Cooper while still grieving Luka. Some followed Luka to the Lakers and are done with Dallas forever. And if you're on the outside and want to know just how bad it really is, on opening night of the 2025-26 season, Dirk Nowitzki, the GOAT, well, he didn't go to the Mavericks home opener. He flew to Los Angeles to watch Luka play for the Lakers. Dirk chose Luka over Dallas. He picked Luka's first game as a Laker over supporting the team that retired his jersey, put up a statue, and named a street after him. And this just tells me everything you need to know about what this ownership did. They didn't just lose the fans, they lost Dirk. And if you've lost Dirk, you lost the soul of the entire franchise. But almost nobody's happy. Almost nobody trusts the ownership, and the ones who are still around, they're there out of habit or loyalty to memories, not because they believe in this team's future. One of the things I love about living in Dallas is that Dirk set the example that you're supposed to watch your star player grow old with your team. You're supposed to see them raise that trophy, then see their jersey retired and hear them talk about how this city meant everything to them. Dallas, of course, had that with Dirk. Then they thought they were getting that again with Luka. We thought we'd have at least another 15 years of watching him dominate, of building toward another championship, of passing down that fandom to our kids. And then someone just ripped it all away in the middle of the night for reasons that still don't make any damn sense. The ghost in the arena. Molly Morrison ended her piece by talking about the ghost that haunts American Airlines Center. And she's right, there is a ghost there. You can feel it every time the Mavericks take the court. The ghost of a championship window that got slammed shut for no good reason. The cruelest part, I think, is that this ghost is still alive. He's out in Los Angeles right now, dropping 35-point triple-doubles and looking like the best player on the planet. Dallas has to watch him fall in love with a new city while they pretend to be excited about moral victories and building for the future. Cooper Flagg's a great kid who's going to be a great player, but he's being set up to fail. He's being asked to replace the irreplaceable, to heal wounds that are still really fresh, to bring back a spirit that might be gone forever. Even if he becomes a Hall of Famer, even if he wins MVP and eventually leads Dallas to a title someday, there's always going to be that yeah, but in the back of everyone's mind. Yeah, but we should have had Luka. Yeah, but we could have had both of them. What happens now? Honestly, I don't know. The Mavericks do not look good right now. Anthony Davis is surprisingly hurt again. Kyrie still isn't back. Cooper Flagg's trying to learn on the fly while playing for a team that has no real direction. Michael Finley and Matt Riccardi are the interim GMs while they search for a permanent replacement. And Jason Kidd's still the coach, somehow surviving through all this chaos. The fans want Dirk involved. They're begging him to come save the franchise, but he doesn't seem interested, and nor should he. Nobody's happy, nobody trusts ownership, and firing Nico, which was a move that everyone wanted, somehow almost made no difference in how people feel. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about a GM or one trade or a bad season. This is about a franchise that forgot what made it special, that chose business over loyalty, that treated their fans like they didn't matter at all. Mark Cuban spent over 20 years building something beautiful, a culture, a family, a connection between a team and a city that felt real. And in less than a year, the new ownership lit a match and burned it all down. The Mavericks went from expansion joke to championship dynasty to beloved franchise to this. A team nobody wants to watch, a team their own fans are protesting, a team that might be good again someday, but will just never feel the same. There's a ghost in the American Airlines Center, and it's going to haunt this franchise for a very long time. That's the rise and fall of the Dallas Mavericks. From a gift to a wife who loved basketball, to Dirk's legendary championship run that united a city, to Luka becoming the most beloved athlete in Dallas, to a new ownership group that destroyed all of it in the middle of the night. If you followed me for some time, I know this wasn't my usual content. I know most of you are here for movie breakdowns and pop culture deep dives, but I had to get this out because this team meant something to me. It was a part of my life for so long, and watching it get destroyed like this, it hurts. Sports aren't supposed to be this cruel, but sometimes they are. And the worst part, I don't know if it can ever be fixed. Even if they fire Patrick Dumont tomorrow, even if they bring in Dirk to run everything, even if Cooper Flagg becomes the next superstar, the trust is gone, the connection's broken, the spirit's dead. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe 5 years from now, everything will be great and we'll look back on this as just a rough patch. But I think what happened on February 1st, 2025 killed something that can't come back. So I want to hear from you. Whether you're a Mavericks fan dealing with this same pain or just somebody who sees what's happening and is shaking their damn head, let me know in the comments. And if you're a Dallas fan who's still watching, who's still showing up, who's still believing, I totally respect that. I'm not trying to tell you to give up on your team. I'm just telling you I can't do it anymore. And I know I'm not alone. Hit that like button if you made it this far. I know this was long and heavy, but I appreciate you sticking with me. Subscribe and let me know if you want more content like this. Thanks for watching. And if you see Luka in a Lakers jersey, just remember what could have been. As always, the opinions in this video are mine and mine alone, but what do I know? I'm but a mere jackass. I'll try to do better next time. Catch you later, friends.
Don't know shit. I'm just a jackass of all trades, don't know shit. But I'll keep on talking, acting like I'm so legit. From politics to sports.